Good evening, folks. Welcome, Sneakat. Welcome, Aleph. We are back to the Homestuck Epilogues today. It's been a week. I actually finished Candy, and I have some thoughts about that. The tag list for this, is that your cursed post for today? Is just the tag list for the epilogues? In which case, yes, but if that's referring to more specific thing, I would be interested in elaboration. Well, yeah, so it's been a week. Fucking Obama. Yeah, I finished. You couldn't think of anything cursed. You know what? The tags list for the epilogue it's up there. So you know what? You're good. It's all good. Gamzee tries to suck Vriska's toes. Yeah, so that is a wonderful segue. Both of those things are wonderful segues into, since the last stream, I read all of Candy, and, what the fuck? It absolutely is overwhelming, anything. So, and of course, now that I've actually been re-immersed in the fandom, I've been able to absorb a little bit of what the fuck has been happening over there. Okay. So, now I can give my own kind of more full-bodied opinion of the epilogues. I will begin by saying that I'm still going to stream them in full, but while the experience was, like, a net positive for me, there's still, like, a number of things that I'm kind of, like, giving a very severe side-eye, and I feel like there's been a lot of discourse, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So, like, net positive. There were definitely a lot of moments that I really loved. Like, all of the moments where Roxy talks about gender, and, you know, Dave's speech about, like, the stages of no homo, and, okay, I was a little bit zoned out when I was reading the Obama scene, because, oh my god, I can't believe that's the thing I could actually say about Homestuck now. Actually, no, I could technically say that before, because there are multiple points in Homestuck proper where Dave references Obama, but, like, it was literally, oh my god. Anyway, but that sure was a sight to behold. And, you know, like, there's, you know, those are the things off the top of my head. The gay snooze button. Y'all. Yeah, I felt that one. Tavros and Dave Petta deserved better. Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like a lot of characters deserved better. And, like, I've heard, like, a number of takes about why the epilogue treated characters the way that it did and that kind of thing. But I gotta say, in terms of my own opinions, I'm gonna save any solid nailed down, this is how I feel about this for sure, until after these streams are finished, you know, because I read the epilogues in 3 days. That is 190,000 words in 3 days. I'm pretty sure that's the fastest I have ever read anything that long. And everyone else got Aleph. Don't do Jade dirty like this. Do not do Jade dirty like this. Jade deserved better. Jade deserved so much better. For one. Yeah, Jade got completely sidelined. Yeah, like, that's the thing. See, here's what I'm kind of... You read them in 5 hours. Holy fuck. Yeah. Here's kind of what jumps out at me the most after just my first cursory 3-day read-through. Jade was like, okay, Jade was either possessed, unconscious, or embroiled in relationship stuff for every fucking scene that she was in, okay? Future plot lines for her while Tavros died and Dave Petta disappeared. Like, I don't Jade got done dirty, and that's a solid opinion that I am gonna put out there. But like, here's because okay, so crux of the matter, I think I have roughly the same amount of issues with the epilogue as I do with Homestuck proper, but the issue is that shouldn't be the case, because Homestuck proper is over 4 times as long as the epilogue. So technically, ratio should be the same, but not number of issues. But number of issues is roughly the same, despite the fact that the epilogues are like a quarter of the length of Homestuck proper. So that's kind of where I'm like, But you know what? We can just read it and then talk about them, and then talk about the other stuff that happens. Now that I pointed out, you're mad. Yeah, there were a couple of things that kind of flew over my head on the first read through because I was reading it through so quickly. And it was, doing readings and pokings around online, and I was like, you know what, that's true. Well, shit. Do a number of things. But yeah, like, Jade got done dirty. Like, another kind of issue that I have is that it's like, so it's great that they were like, You're Durkin, how do you think you? Oh, Dirk Jake fans got rough. Yo, okay. Something that I wanted to toss out there that I like immediately thought that I wanted to do as soon as I fucking read it, okay? I would like to offer my sincerest condolences to every single person who read Candy first. Because if you read Candy first, like, chapter 14 with Dirk was upsetting enough with the context of Meat and knowing more of the rationale that he was trying to, and all of that other shit. But I cannot even fucking imagine reading that chapter cold fucking turkey. I mean, Candy as a whole, reading the whole thing cold fucking turkey. Like, I definitely have more issues with Candy than I do with Meat. But again, reading them over, I'm going to be able to tell, was that because I read Meat first and I was just really excited or what? But the thing is, I feel like if I read Candy first, I'm really glad I didn't. Not just because of chapter 14, but because I feel like if I read Candy first, there was so much weird shit and I had so many more issues with it. I feel like it would have, like, seriously put me off of even reading Meat. I would have been more hypercritical of Meat if I had read Candy first. Because it's fucked, man. You can't imagine. I know, right? Like, God, I hope that Odd or Blake or both of them are able to come to these streams sometime. Because I want to get those opinions. Because I know that they both read Candy first. So I just, oof, ouch. A theory floating around that this is Caliborn's fanfic. Because you don't want, yeah. There's that, like, there's a lot of complex, like, and then because there's another whole discussion about, like, the theory of the ultimate self, and just how accurate is this? Because again, for the millionth fucking time, we are getting fucking unreliable narrators left, right, and center. And who was it? Was Sam Keeper, who writes Storming the Ivory Tower, which is fantastic literary analysis of Homestuck, among other pieces of media. And I actually just earlier this evening read a Twitter thread that shoot, I can't remember pronouns. I am like 90% sure that it's she. Thank you for confirming, Aleph. Yeah, I was just like, oh fuck. Yeah, she wrote a Twitter thread that I read just earlier this evening, specifically about the way that the ultimate self is talked about and portrayed in the epilogue, and its kind of how it is seen through the unreliable narrator of Dirk, right? And comparing that to the way that Dave Petta describes it, when we get Dave Petta's description in Homestuck proper. Actually, I retweeted that. Can I find that link? I think I'll link that one in chat, because that was a very interesting thread. Yeah, so that's food for thought. I won't go into that too deeply just because, like, we're still kind of... Well, I might bring it up again when we actually get to him talking about the ultimate self. Just because we're starting... So chapter 10, we're starting with Jane. We're all the way back here with Jane. This is our first Jane chapter. Yeah, Jane kind of got done dirty, but there's also the logical steps behind how she got to this place that do make some sense. She was being indoctrinated into this capitalistic mindset from a very young age. She was excited to inherit the company. It was something she was looking forward to, so she was enthusiastic about these kinds of views. Now, that escalating into genocide and the candy route is a whole other fucking story. But the place that she's starting at here, it's relatively easy to see how that evolved from her initial... where we see her in Homestuck itself. So capitalists are bad, actually. Yep. Okay, let me just shift around some of my windows here. I have to have multiple windows open on my computer now in order to see chat. It does make it a little easier than I guess than having it open on the laptop, but I mean the phone is the easiest because then I don't have to be playing around with making sure I can see all billion different things on my screen. I just have to look at the browser. Anyway. Okay, chapter 10. Okay. 10. Jane Crocker sweeps into her office with grace befitting her station and slams the door shut behind her. The sun cuts through her Venetian blinds, painting butter-yellow strips of light all the way from one end of her impeccably tailored office to the other. It's a lovely day, like most days, so not terribly remarkable, except for the horrid news she'd just received at her customary morning press conference. I had the Twitch app on my phone, and then my phone ate shit, and it stopped recognizing my SD card, which had the Twitch app on it, and it was on the SD card because there wasn't enough room on my phone itself. So my apps, I have very limited access to apps on my phone right now. I'm looking for a new phone because this thing is a piece of shit anyway. And I have tried having chat open in the web browser, but my phone keeps overheating and freezing about 1 hour into stream every time I do that. So that's not an option anymore, unfortunately. When I get a new phone, I will go back to using the Twitch app. But for now, I don't have room on my phone for it. So, yeah. Hopefully I'll be getting a new phone soon. My goal is to have it before the end of the month when I go to a convention and I'm going to be wanting to take pictures. Because my phone is also not letting me take pictures right now because it keeps telling me that there's no room. Which is frustrating, because this stopped doing that shit, a long time ago, and, I have made art and I need to take pictures of it. And I can't post to Instagram anymore either because Instagram was also on my SD card. And it's a massive fucking app, so I cannot just re-download it onto my phone itself. And I, as someone who is trying to do art things, having an online art presence is kind of important. Anyway, I am getting super sidetracked. That was a yes or no question, and I took it in a completely different direction. Anyway, that's what's up with that. You can move stuff to your SD card. Yes. Just learn from my experience and make sure that you back your things up regularly. That's all I can say about that. Jane comes to a brisk stop alongside one of her floor-to-ceiling windows, which span a full 2/3 of her office, and brushes her hands over her hips to smooth the wrinkles out of her powder-blue pencil skirt. Then she hems, haws, puffs out her cheeks, and takes a very deep breath before snatching a pillow off of the nearest couch so that she can scream into it. There are surely a multitude of ways for a person to find out that an acquaintance is running against you in a presidential election. From a Carpathian reporter, in front of 26 other members of the interspecies press, was not the method Jane would have personally chosen. She is certain that she retained her poise and managed not to look too shocked at the news. She did not exclaim, "What?" but instead managed to eke out through gritted teeth and pursed lips a reasonably thoughtful sounding, She cannot believe that Karkat would do this to her. This is no longer a political fiat, which the election would surely have been had she run uncontested by any other civilization-founding celebrities, but rather a battle between friends. What did Vantis think he was doing? No, it's not Vantis, Jane realizes. This could not have possibly been Karkat's idea. Jane knows Karkat, not intimately or even casually, but well enough to have made a generalized assessment of his basic character over the years. He is not cut out for politics, neither intellectually nor in the very important matter of social constitution. Shove it up your ass, Jane. Karkat's good, okay? Shh. Certainly not when it comes to economic policy. In fact, Jane is pretty sure that Karkat Vantis would probably literally burst into flame if too many people happened to look at him at the same time, like a vampire walking out into the sun. I mean, okay, that's a valid point, but still, shut the fuck up. Don't do Karkat dirty like that. Wait. Jane lowers the pillow from her face and stares at her brass and glass Art Deco ceiling. Was that vampire thing xenophobic against Kanaya? Or whatever it was that Kanaya was supposed to be? No. The vampire thing wasn't, because that was human myths you're talking about. This statement, however, I think that is more the kind of statements you should be looking out for. Whatever it is that Kanaya is supposed to be. Oh my god, stop. No, of course not, she assures herself. With trolls, it was the other way around. Vampires were the only member of their species who didn't balk at the sunlight. Another reason Karkat would make a poor president. Unless he ran as night president? No, the idea is foolish. Best not to give him any ideas. There can only be one president. Also, shut up. Just stop. You're digging yourself into this hole. It hurts. No, surely this must have been Dave's idea. Also, just reminding myself to keep in mind that Dirk is literally implanting thoughts into her head. So this is really most likely reflective more of Dirk's impression. Because when the fuck would Jane have ever gotten any of this impression of Karkat? I really don't think they would see each other frequently enough for her even have that intimate of a knowledge. Like, they're really base level acquaintances, barely. Silence Jane. Yeah. And also silence Dirk literally speaking bullshit through Jane's narrative. Because, like, Dirk would be able to predict something like this, not Jane. No, surely this must have been Dave's idea. The kind of plot hatched from their little nest of mutually supportive, codependent, interspecies, whatever it is they have going on over there. Dave was certainly no Dirk Strider, no Rose Lalonde, no Roxy, but he had the same scheming gene, buried deep down beneath his transparent onion layers of posturing and, frankly, rather outdated humor. An instinct to plan, and despite being inarguably the dimmest of his family's impressive ectobiological stock. Y'all, shut the fuck up, okay? Dave, don't compare them like that. Stop. When I read this the first time, it made me so fucking angry. I was literally sitting at my computer just fuming, like, how fucking dare you try and compare them like that? How dare you try and imply that Dave is just unintelligent? Oh dear. Stock. That's likely a problematic word, isn't it? Jane thinks. She crosses it off her mental list of appropriate words to say during a press conference. Yeah, not, hey, maybe I should change that thinking pattern, just appropriate words to say during a press conference. I didn't say it was out of character for Jane to be a eugenicist. I just said that watching The Leap was a lot. Actually, I never mentioned the word eugenicist at all. Y'all be putting words in my mouth. Don't do that. She returns to her train of thought. Despite being the least mentally gifted member of his family, shut the fuck up, Jane, Dave has always had an awful lot of opinions on the economy. In fact, Jane cannot remember a single conversation she's ever had with him that wasn't about the economy. She thinks back to one time at John's 18th birthday where Dave engaged her in a rigorous and rather one-sided debate about deregulation and the failure of neoliberal austerity measures until Karkat had to come over and put his hand over his roommate's mouth to make him stop talking. I still need to Google what that means. I keep forgetting to do that. Come to think of it, of the few direct interactions with Karkat she'd ever had, this struck her as a truly great act of benevolence towards the common good. Maybe he would make a good president? No! She cannot succumb to such thoughts of weakness. She will not. Jane tosses the pillow back onto the couch and begins pacing the length of her office. This really was a disaster. She knew that was solid. She knew that she was, wow, I can't read. She knew that she was solid on several demographic metrics, the human one most certainly, and the well-to-do Carpathian districts. But Karkat was incredibly popular in the Troll Kingdom, obviously, and the Carpathians were widely known to be swayed by underdog populism. And the consorts? Who had even given them the right to vote in the first place? In any other year? Hey! Don't do that! Jane hops up to sit on her desk and kicks off both of her shoes. Although, I gotta say, Aleph, I do get your point that recalling the way that she's speaking about people and about other species in this specific conversation makes it feel like less of a shocking leap for in mentality for her to go to such extremes in candy. She picks up a pen and begins to chew the end to bits to stop herself from doing the same to her lower lip. In any other year, this wouldn't be a problem. She'd be happy to accept a graceful temporary defeat and let Karkat play president for a couple years. After all, unlike her, he was not immortal. Hey, also don't do that. You're hurting my heart. But Earthsea's paper-thin idyllic history was very close to a boiling point. Its very first boiling point, in fact, which will have everything to do with the problematic nature of troll reproduction. The first generation of natural-born trolls obviously cannot be entrusted to a troll. Yeah. And this whole thing here about it has to be now is also, of course, Dirk's pressing the issue because he wants to, like, go to space and be the god of his own planet or something. I don't know. I still have to figure out what the fuck the postscripts are. Because they swap the postscripts, right? I might actually read both postscripts at the end of each one. Just because it's so much easier to figure out what the fuck the postscripts mean when you read it when you're fucking supposed to. Social unrest and protests are good things. I mean, to an extent, yeah. Like, there definitely has to be something bringing to light things that need urgent, immediate improvement. Where am I? Oh, there I am. Which was absolutely not a xenophobic thing to think. It was just realistic. Ugh. The citizens of Earthsea were able to rest easy, knowing that the government held a careful rein over over matters of equity. No one could possibly trust something so important to a troll, knowing what everyone knew about their violent history. Losing this election could mean social unrest, protests, even war. Jane presses her... Just so you know, I'm gagging over all of this bullshit. Jane presses her eyes shut and runs her fingers along the fine-grained patterns in her mahogany-paneled desk. She is about to think something that she has promised herself to never think again. In fact, she is about to say it. This horrible, ghoulish, girlish thought that used to rule her world and make her so terribly weak. The shameful thought is expressed out loud in the form of a defeated sigh. I need Jake. She spins around and, still sitting on her desk, presses a familiar entry on the phone's contact list. I am of the firm belief that all of the vitriol towards Jake here in her thought, those extra, calling it horrible, ghoulish, and shameful, that's Dirk being a little motherfucker and shifting the tone because for some reason he hates Jake now. One of the things that I had read that someone was like, this doesn't make sense, that I was kind of like, oh, like that's kind of a good point, was that like Dirk was one of the only people in the webcomic who actually didn't insult Jake's intelligence and like recognize the fact that like sometimes he can be smart and do smart things. And this is like a big 180, but I mean yeah, it's just that whole ultimate self, I'm doing air quotes, thing, and how it's twisted his head. He's just not the same fucking person, which is another issue that a lot of people had, and I can't really blame them for that because it's a really big shift that we don't get to see happening. And the only kind of, it's definitely like it can be pieced together. Dirk epic divorce man. Oh god. No, that's John. Like there's hints through Homestuck proper. He always just kind of struggled with his potential to do evil. I'm trying to think of how to word it. There's a lot of moving pieces. I think, okay. Maybe we can shelve this conversation for when it's a little more pertinent to what's actually happening in the chapter. Maybe then it'll be easier to explain when we've actually read to the part where Dirk starts doing fuck shit, like, up front instead of hiding behind black text. Ahoy, ahoy! Jane has to suck in a hard breath to stop herself from groaning. Why were so many of the finest young minds on this planet slaves to this foolish man's perky glutes? Yet another thing that people did not predict. The bimboification tag was Jake. This was not any sort of Caliborn narrative takeover intervention. It was just the Earthsea-wide bimboification of Jake English. Jake! Hello, how are you doing? As well as I can be, I suppose, considering that I just woke up in the middle of a mafficking ruckus at the stadium after getting beamed in the pumper with the old horse tranquilizer trick, which I suppose I should have seen coming, as Dirk has ended all of our matches in this fashion for the past week. Oh dear, that sounds absolutely terrible, Jake. Is there anything I can do to help? Help? Gadzooks, woman! I hardly think myself in need of help. It's a jolly good adventure working with someone so predictably unpredictable as our good friend Dirk. Hey Dirk, stop fucking stroking your own ego. But yeah, that horse tranquilizer thing, like, holy fuck. Like, horse tranquilizers are fucking powerful. That's some strong shit. You do too much of that shit, you're gonna fuck up your brain. Like, dude. Dirk. Holy fuck. You would think that Jake enjoyed the sadomasochistic nature of his and Dirk's personal and professional relationship. Judging from the last conversation about election strategy with Dirk, he seems to be perfectly aware of this feature of Jake's personality. You can't be too nice when courting his endorsement, Dirk would say. He doesn't respond to nice. You didn't think I was going to say ego? You know, I almost didn't. And then I was like, maybe I should back that up a step. Yeah. Dirk uses the horse tranquilizers on himself. Yeah, very likely. There's just a lot going on there with the horse tranquilizer stuff. Also, the use of the word sadomasochistic in this context. Yeah, and this whole thing with Dirk saying, oh, let me take care of that. He doesn't respond to nice. That just, like, I'm very suspicious of that whole thing. Be that as it may, Jake, I still do worry about you an awful lot. Well, that is... On Jake's end of the line, there was a crash, followed by a noise that sounds suspiciously like something big and hollow and metal connecting with Jake's head. When Jake comes back to the phone, he's yelling into it. Jane grimaces. I just use a small dose to help me fall asleep at night, and then a much, much larger dose to get me through the day. Ultimate Dirk have all of the fanfic Dirks? I mean, like... Because the whole thing with the Ultimate Self is that it's supposed to... See, here's the thing. Okay, let me just... Where's that Twitter thread? There. So, yeah, okay, I'm reading it over again and yeah, Dave Petta doesn't describe themselves as an ultimate self. They just describe themselves as having understood their ultimate self, as grasping the essentially distributed and vast nature of what a self is in paradox space. So, that doesn't sound like the description of the ultimate self that Dirk has given throughout the epilogue, like, at all. Right? Like, that sounds very different. So there seems to be like a disconnect there between what the definition of the ultimate self actually is, and we have been left to puzzle it out. Also Alter just is. Like, this whole thing is, ugh. Tales of dubious authenticity, for sure. When Jake comes back to the phone, he's yelling into it. Jane grimaces. Very sweet of you, Jane. I appreciate very much that you have called me out of the blue to say such nice things to me with no ulterior motive. From anyone else, this would have been a portentous statement. However, Jane knows that Jake English could not have possibly meant this without anything but the utmost sincerity. I'm sure there's still, like, an inkling here. An inkling of some awareness. Like, this is definitely not 100% sincere of a statement. I feel like it's partly that he's playing that up because he really doesn't want that to be the case. Well, you know that because I must note that although I try to stay sporting about what comes of me, I can't say that I am chuffed about how much of my correspondence lately has to do with the marketing of my image. It's beginning to feel like all people want from me is to stick my derriere on a signpost for their own profit. As Jake does. Yeah. Hope powers. That is the aspect of hope. He just wants to believe so strongly that is not what is happening here. That's not what's happening here. That's not what's happening here. That's not what's happening here. Oh, yes, they are pronounced the same. Yeah. Oh, Jake. You're right. It must be so difficult. For you more than the rest of us, due to your, let's say, natural gifts? Huh? But you know that I've always wanted what's best for you, right? And I am ready to give that to you. To give me what? The best, Jake. The very best. Jake is quiet a moment, and Jane can hear the rusty gears turning in his head. Hey, Dirk. Shut your fuck. Hope's powers feigning dumbassery. I mean, in certain circumstances, that can be what it looks like. You should stop by and see me this evening. Do you mean my evening or yours? We're in different time zones right now, and dare I say the sun just went down here, so if you want to have a soiree on my time, you've missed your chance. Jane feels her fake smile flexing so hard that it was beginning to hurt. Okay, so here's the thing that I noticed, and that irritates me, is that there is no consistent fucking tense. Feels is present tense. But was is past tense. And they do that kind of tense flopping all over the fucking place. Like, yeah. That's something that, I mean, that's neither here nor there. And I mean, I do it too. That was like, when I did like, writing short stories for school or like writer's craft class, that was the biggest thing that was nitpicked by teachers. And essays too. Now that I've been told a million fucking times that I keep switching tenses, I'm very like attuned to watching out for it when I'm typing. I'm also attuned to watching out for it when I'm reading things. So this is written in two different tenses at the same time, and it flips on a number of occasions, and it's like, that's not how, please don't. Yeah. Jane feels her fake smile flexing so hard that it was beginning to hurt. Oh yes, she loved this man in basically every category that you could possibly love a person, but sometimes talking to him is like trying to build a house of cards while riding a mechanical bull. Alternate idea. Yes. That is it. That is the truth. Dirk Strider is fucking with me personally because by flipping the tenses. Mine, of course. I'll have the best year of your favorite crocodile-made scotch flown in from the Consort Kingdom, and we'll have a little catch-up. Jake actually hates scotch and only drinks it for appearance's sake. But for this unbelievably pivotal moment in the history of the planet that they created with their bare hands, Jane is willing to spend a few thousand boonbucks to watch her old friend pretend to sip at the same glass for a couple of hours while prattling on. And she's willing to do more than that, too. That was my immediate, please don't let this be going where I think it's going. And then it went where I thought it was going, and that was a big yikes. When's the last time we did that, just you and I? You know what? You're quite right. It's been a spell since we've met up without Dirk. And an unforgivably long one at that. Whip me up a kipper, Jane, and I'll be over promptly. A kipper? She considers asking if he intended to request that she literally prepare a fish for his arrival. But of course, Jake has already hung up. With a heavy and somewhat regretful sigh, Jane sets her phone down on the desk. Well, she thinks, that's that. Time to work your magic, Crocker. And then we step away. To the kids stuck in the house. Okay, I'm gonna have some water before I start reading this next part. "11. That's that, you think. Your glasses are broken forever and you totally fucked up and underestimated young Lord English. Rose should have known better than to trust this. Blah, blah, blah. Wow, I'm going to restart that whole paragraph. Let's just restart that whole chapter, actually. Okay. 11. That's that, you think. Your glasses are broken forever, and you totally fucked up and underestimated young Lord English. Rose should have known better than to trust this to you alone. Rose. Your smart, amazing friend, Rose. You can almost hear her voice now. Listen closer, jackass. Dirk, shut the fuck up. Oh, wait. You do hear her voice, vibrating low and muted through the wall of your cell. You've only realized right now that your cell has walls because it's awfully bright in here. It's so white that nothing in the ceiling is casting a shadow. Nothing in the cell. Wow, I can't fucking read today. I know, I hope that they're able to join us soon as well. Oh, wait, you do hear her voice, vibrating low and muted through the wall of your cell. You've only realized right now that your cell has walls because it's awfully bright in here. It's so white that nothing in the cell is casting a shadow. Looking around, you realize that there is no apparent source to all this bright light, making it hard to tell where the floor ends and the wall begins. John? John? Are you there? Her voice is muffled, coming from... Oh, wait a second. John? John? Are you there? Her voice is muffled, coming from what you presume to be an adjacent room similar to yours on the other side of the wall. Yeah, I'm here. Oh, thank goodness. Everyone's accounted for then. Are you okay? What? Are you okay? I think so. I can barely hear you, though. You can hear a thud from Rose's corner, like someone slumping against a wall in relief. Well, that's what you're doing, at least. Eh? Yeah, I'm fine too, but this is kind of dorky to say out loud, but I don't feel time. That's not just me, right? You guys feel it too? Or don't? Yeah, I mean, there's obviously space inside this box, but I can't do anything. It's like I'm blind. So they're both noticing the lack of their aspect. The noise outside the juju grows. Something sharp and metallic splinters above and rains down on top of the chest. Shoot. I'm trying to recall precisely which part of the masterpiece this would be. Right, I think this is Caliborn sending it to the depths of paradox space. That'd be the sharp metallic sounds. What did my future self say? What did my future self say it was we had to do? She never what? I can't hear you. She never really told us what we had to do exactly. Just what was going to happen in a really loose sort of fashion. Does that mean we're stuck? Yes, Rose. You're Homestuck. Wah wah. Anyway. The obvious name drop joke. The metallic noises rain down harder, drowning out Rose's attempt at being loud. Plink, plink, smash. Now I can't hear you. Try using less words. The length of the silence coming from Rose's corner communicates just how difficult a task that is for her. She said the juju would get loaded and unloaded. What? So, I mean, it just got loaded, I think, with us. So I don't think we're trapped in here forever. We'll be unloaded from it at some point. What? I know it's all a bit abstract, but no, I just can't hear you. John, you suck at yelling. Ugh! You stop trying to loudly reassure the worried teens for a moment and just think. Now, you understand defeating young Lord English was never supposed to happen, not the way adult Rose was implying it would. You surmise the other 4 teens remaining outside the juju were the ones meant to be tasked with this defeat, and judging from the cacophony still emanating from beyond the walls of this house and its confining chest, they are taking the task seriously. But what does this mean for the 4 of you? You try to picture what's going on in the battle outside, but it's not easy. Use your imagination. In your imagination, the battle is quite vivid and exciting. The coolness of the action in your mind's eye is belied by the actual sound effects booming all around you, which you can only describe as vaguely stupid. There's a lot of hysterical screaming, which, if you're not mistaken, it is coming exclusively from the male combatants. There's a sudden swell of energy that speaks to a vastness beyond its power source, almost as if an outrageous bubble of pure hope was enveloping the stage, is how you would describe it if you didn't mind sounding ridiculous. Then you hear, can it be horses? No, not simple horses of flesh and bone. These horses are metal, if we're to believe they're horses at all. So that's Jake's hope bubble, and then Arqueus's arrival. Stop using your imagination. This isn't getting you anywhere, and clearly your silly imaginative whims aren't doing the slightest bit of justice to the actual awesome things taking place out there in the heat of battle. Frankly, your theorized skirmish lost the handle on any legitimacy it might have had the moment you started thinking about horses. You figure no one will ever truly know what's happening out there. You doubt anyone would even be able to handle how incredible the raw, unfiltered account of this teen brawl actually was, so it's probably for the best. As you slip out of your fanciful conjecture, which may or may not have included a mechanical horse ambush, you overhear Dave from one of the rooms below you, raising his voice to speak to either you or someone else. You're not sure. You place an ear to the floor again. He's speaking to Jade. They're attempting to reminisce again, to the best of their ability to do so while shouting through a wall. Once more you ruefully reflect on the teen versions of your friends and all the questions they must have for you. For each other. What would you even say to them? Would you want to tell them about the happy outcomes, knowing they might never get the chance to experience those things for themselves? Would you tell them the sad outcomes, thus reinforcing their insecurities and suspicions that they may never truly be capable of living happy lives? You're not even sure you could handle it if you were teen John. You'd have too many follow-up questions, which adult John is in no way prepared to answer. Would you tell them what's up with Roxy and Calliope, again having no real grasp yourself over what's up with them? Would you tell them Dave and Carcat live in a hive together watching TV all day, and Jade maybe kinda sorta lives there too, but nobody quite knows what's really going on with that? Would you tell them about Terzi? For some reason, her name feels like nails in your heart. Makes sense, you guess, because there's a lot of sharp letters in it. She has sharp teeth, too, and sharp elbows. Sharp words. Terzi Pyrope was a sharp girl, and maybe that's what these sharp feelings are trying to tell you, is you miss her more than you realize. This made me think that Terzi was dead, and I was just, like, completely fucking heartbroken. Like, I understood, but I was also completely fucking heartbroken because Terzi, oh my god. That's another interesting take that I've heard, was talking about how Terzi was kind of relegated to, like, the role of just, like, a love interest through the narrative. So that's an interesting thing to keep in mind for Terzi scenes and the way that she's handled narratively and spoken about by the characters as well. So I'll be kind of on the lookout for whether or not that rings true with me in my own reading of the work. She wouldn't have let you neglect relationships with certain friends for so long that you missed whole chapters of their lives. She wouldn't have put up with you moping around with the salamanders for so long. She would have kicked your ass for being such a loser about everything. She would have poked you in the forehead and called you insufferably dumb and told you to pick up the damn phone. You would have called her a weirdo and pretended you hated it, and maybe you would have even believed you hated it. But now, sitting here in this little white cubicle, contemplating your regrets, you don't think you'd have hated it much at all. Would you tell the teens that? You'd probably never tell anyone that. Not even her. Another arbitrary thought hits your brain, completely unrelated to the subject of Terzi, or what you would or wouldn't tell a bunch of incarcerated teens, or so you think. Now you think about John Terzi. John Terzi? Again, I was not too attached to it before this. But, like, I'm seeing it more and I'm kind of liking it now. Just them in relationship circumstances in general. Where am I? I had another thought. Oh, right. So we almost get John overhearing this conversation, but we don't. So that's another no candy for you. We don't get to hear this conversation. We get all this sad stuff instead of hearing Dave and Jade reminisce. And then we get this. Oh my god. I fucking, like, this, like, this part, like, it hurt, but I loved it, and it was just, like, like, I could feel the catharsis of that, having that realization as a person who's had to have that realization at multiple different points in my life. Am I depressed? You ask aloud, quietly enough that your friends cannot possibly hear. All the question does is crawl back down your throat and burrow into your gut like it lives there. And it does live there, because, as it turns out, you are really fucking depressed. You're just a giant wet meat sack of self-involved misery, and all that big wet and all that big wet meaty ooze drips out your mouth every time you open it. All the time and space in the world isn't making it better. It's something you should have been doing for yourself instead of waiting around for things to get better. Well, screw waiting. It's boring as hell. You are John Egbert, after all, immortal creator of worlds, the one and only man ever to completely transcend the partitions of canon itself. You've got these powers, remember? You hold up your hands. Oh, John, you idiot. They probably, since we don't get to see much time with them inside of this house, I'm guessing that they eventually figure it out. But at the moment, we don't know. John, you idiot. You know what? Sometimes it can be really hard to come to that realization and be like, oh my god, that's what's going on. Especially if you don't have anyone else pointing out that, like, hey, are you okay? And you're just kind of like, yeah? Yeah. No, the sudden gun, this whole sudden gut punch is just, like, really strongly resonated with me. You hold up your hands and form a rectangle with your fingers and reach outside yourself, outside canon, to the place your retcon powers come from. You focus, you strain, you contemplate with all your might a place you can zap to, any place but here. You wait and wait and wait and nothing happens. You slump back down against the wall and your despondence eagerly greets you again. Like an old friend ready to pat you on the back and say, good try, man. I'll always be here for you when you fail. Thanks, dude, you think. Oh, right, another thing. All this big, wet, meaty ooze description, through both routes, I noticed that they use the literal references to meat and candy as much as they possibly can. Kind of, like, really nail it home what kind of story you're reading. Rose was right.
What?
The juju has to unload.
What has to... What?
The only way out of here is for us to wait for someone to let us out. Sorry, guys.
Oh.
Also, I think I might have depression. I love the way that he just finishes it with that. Like, hey, folks. Guess who's depressed? Like, oh, God. Oh, my God. This is... Okay, so... This is the... Jade Dave Cat conversation. The only one that happens in me. It kind of goes nowhere. Like, they put this chapter in here, and then they go way later, and they have that one with Dave and Carcat that's, like, near the end. Yeah, what a thing to just... Speaking of unloading, what a thing to unload right at the end of that grand statement. Be like, we're never getting out of here. Also, I already have depression. Like, as if being socially isolated in a void completely disconnected from the canon would not be bad enough. John's like, yeah, 10 steps ahead of y'all. I'm already depressed. But, like, yeah, like, this gets, like, why is that? It's just, like, I don't know, it's just, I guess it's just a thing felt in the soul. But, yeah, this conversation is gonna be kind of a tougher one to get through. Because, like, yeah, it's like they touch on it this one time, and then they just kind of skip over it, which I guess is a part of, you know, this isn't really the meat of the story. It's too relationship-y for it to really take up a lot of time in the meat route, right? But yeah. So, it's midnight on the dot. So, it's time for break. Oh, fuck boy, we don't have anything else here. We finished this album. Who has any idea what they want to hear next? If nobody puts something in chat, then I will think of something. But I'm just gonna have some water. Please request an album or something. Okay, volume 10, you got it. Okay, alright. California goes to Starbucks. Yeah, no, that is a classic, but, yeah, we'll keep it to volumes for now. That's a special occasion video. Okay, 5 minutes, and then we will dive into Jade Dave Cat. Woo? Kind of a mess of a chapter, but we'll take it step by step. Okay, 5 minutes on the clock. Greetings. We are back in business. Alright. 5-minute break over. Let's just hop back in. 12. So we gotta hit Jane right in her neoliberal austerity measures. We're all agreed on that, right? Uh-huh. Yeah, sure. Now she's gonna spin some shit about supply side economics, but we can't let her control the narrative on that, cause the first thing that's gonna happen once she begins deregulating the baking industry is that some sweet dumb crocodile down in Consort Land is gonna start putting sparkle glue in. I'm running out of air. I gotta Speaking of regulating things, I need to regulate my breathing so that I don't fucking choke myself to death. Trying to read Dave's massive rants. Now she's gonna spin some shit about supply side economics, but we can't let her control the narrative on that. One, because the first thing that's gonna happen when she begins deregulating the baking industry is that some sweet dumb crocodile down in Consort Land is gonna start putting sparkle glue in the cupcake mix, which isn't even the real issue. That's just surface issues. Right. Definitely. I mean, Earthsea has just been play-acting capitalism the last 5,000 years while we time-skipped ahead to live rad lives as gods without bothering with any of the boring shit that goes into making a civilization. Which is fine. I mean, you can't really expect a bunch of teens who didn't finish middle school to set up a sustainable form of social democracy that isn't just blatantly ripped off whatever we incorrectly thought Obama, God rest his soul, was doing back in the day. But Jane's got this old school mentality. You just know she wants to restrict grist alchemy for the sake of growth, and when that goes down, it'll take 3 seconds flat for some nobody in New Durstown to drop the Earthsea Communist Manifesto, at which point we're in for a speed run of either our 20th century or her 21st century. We're gonna glitch under the map straight from Marx to clown dictatorship, which also isn't the real issue. Under the map straight from Marx to clown dictatorship. Oh yeah, of course. Are you even listening, or are you just making noises with your mouths? How dare you! I can't believe I'm being accused by Dave Strider, reigning emperor, of spewing endless verbal diarrhea directly into my innocent hair ducts every day of my fucking life, of making thoughtless mouth noises. Jade, are you hearing this? I'm scandalized, especially when there are much better things we could all be doing with our mouths. Jade, don't, please. Don't make this uncomfortable. It's not the right time. It's been a really nice day they've been having, and then Jade had to go say something like that. The air in the hive changes in a way that's that is palpable in a way that she can't seem to accurately gauge despite having both superhuman and superdog senses. She's lying on her stomach on the floor, chin in her palms, glasses slid down to the tip of her nose, kicking her legs in the air. Elements of her outfit resemble her god-tier jammies: peasant skirt, sparkly flats, and a bold choice in striped tights. Her tail swishes from side to side, showing way too much of her thigh, which isn't really all that salacious considering 3 of her bras are thrown over the back of the couch where she crashed last night, and the night before that, and the better part of 7 years before that. There are other personal effects of hers in the living room, too. Plants on the windowsill, her bass guitar sitting in the corner, a horrific-looking periodic table that Dave made her for her 17th birthday pinned above the stairwell. He typed it in Comic Sans and then deep-fried it to oblivion with JPEG artifacts. Everyone in the room knows each other way too well, so what happens next goes a little like clockwork. Says Karkat for like 30 seconds straight as he retreats into the bulk of his sweater. He scoots half a foot to put his back against the couch when Jade pushes her glasses up to the bridge of her nose and looks at him. And Dave, with his preternaturally perfect timing, sweeps a hand over his tablet to bring up a new PowerPoint slide on the TV. He returns to his Comic Sans-written political presentation, gruesome artifacts and all, with the grace and proficiency of a man who has diffused an awkward situation in his own household many times per day, every day, for many years. Yeah, so the way they're framing this situation is like... See, like, I feel like they're kind of over-exaggerating Jade's, like, lack of people skills, so to speak. Like, you don't really get that from her in the comic. Granted, I haven't read Homestuck in about a year. But I feel like she does have a little more sense than that. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we don't get a lot of social scenes with Jade in a group context in the comic. Now that I think about it, we don't really have a lot of opportunities to even see what she would be like talking to more than one person. Like, it's very uncommon for her to be in group settings, now that it occurs to me. Jade just got... Yeah. See, here's... Because the kicker with Jade being done dirty in the epilogues is that she kind of got done dirty a little in Homestuck, too. Like, she doesn't get a lot of... or as much major screen time as, like, any of the other beta kids in particular. And especially near the end, she just kind of... Well, you know, she's asleep, and then she wakes up, and then she fights the dogs, and then that's it. There were no conversations after Collide, so we don't even get to see any conversations with, like her and Jake's first in-person conversation. Like, that would have been such a special thing to see. But, I mean, like, this is now drawing into my own personal gripes about the end of Homestuck, because I am still a little peeved that there was absolutely no conversations after Collide. I really feel like there should have been something there. Like, this is fucking Homestuck, okay? There's conversations on conversations on conversations on conversations. And that's part of what I love about it. And there was just nothing at all after Collide. I'm getting, like, super sidetracked. So I'm just gonna keep fucking reading now. Anyway, we all know the real issue is troll reproduction. This election season is going to be so jacked up with dog whistles, Jade will never sleep again. Woof! Yo, get ready for... This is so cute. Yo, get ready for the top propaganda hits of the year. Alternia, brutal eugenics-based space dictatorship. Not untrue. Troll Homeworld, Lord of the Flies nightmare scenario where kids murder each other just to get the chance to get to grow up and murder other aliens instead. It wasn't that bad. Actual names of professions on Alternia: Thresh-Kushner, Legis-Lacerator, Minister of sucking the eyeballs out of your fucking skull, then putting my two monstrous H.R. Geiger tier troll dicks up there and just mashing the shit out of your brain with them. Oh my god, that's graphic. You made that last one up. Also, it was disgusting. Grow the fuck up, you utterly contemptible potty-mouthed... Whoa, I forgot Karkat says that. That, like, the first time I read that, I was kind of like, okay, so we're going there now? But, just took me by surprise a little bit. I'm personally have never, taken to cunt as a swear word. I just haven't ever used it, really. It's not a thing that I've made regular use of. Also, you know trolls don't actually have two dicks, Dave. That's an offensive stereotype. I know, that's the point. Keep up, guys. Ready for another one? Trolls literally ate babies. Only the defective ones. Like you, my dude. Yeah. So that's why our campaign can work. Implies that Andrew Hussey was repeating troll racisms. Yeah, I mean, like, well, because it wasn't, yeah, it was him. Was it Hussey himself that started the whole Solix has two dicks thing? Because that was the first thing when I read, oh, two dicks, and I was like, But the first thing that I thought of was how that's, like, a widely popular fanon for Solix specifically to have two dicks. By the way, I'm gonna be giving a long form exam at the end of this to make sure you're retaining info, because this is only like the most important thing we've ever done collectively. Oh, he said that trolls have a love and a hate dick. Oh my god, that's. Yeah, so that is heavily implying that. Also, makes sense because, as the Quadrant exposition proves, Hussey the character is not immune to propaganda. Yeah. I mean, neither is the man himself. None of us are. Lest we forget. Oh, God. Cue Garfield image. But yeah, I mean, Homestuck's literally everything in Homestuck is an unreliable narrator. Question everything is the lesson that is a sub lesson of Homestuck's many lessons. It's question everything. Unreliable narrators are everywhere. Question everything. Aside from creating the universe, I mean. It's not that it isn't important, Dave. It's that, like, the method you're using to communicate it is kind of inefficient and boring. You mean words? Mindfang would never lie to me. Oh, God. I mean your words specifically. We already understand the issues at play. You don't have to explain it to us over and over again like we're 12. Right, Karkat? Are you asking me whether I've heard this exact speech almost word for word, including rehearsed versions of both the colorful metaphors and jokes 10 or 20 times already? Because the answer to that would be, yes, of course I fucking have. Karkat elbows Dave in the thigh, a move that is obviously meant to be an action of pure brotherly jest, but instead it comes off as affectionate and overly intimate. Jade's clever eyes don't miss this. Her pupils follow the motion of Karkat's arms, then they follow the movement of Dave's mouth as he smiles in what he probably thinks is a totally neutral expression that reveals exactly 0% of his true feelings towards Karkat Vantas. In reality, his veneer is as thin and transparent as cellophane. He is the only person who can't see through it. Jade does some calculations in her head. 2 kind of calculations, in fact. Mathematical ones and personal ones. So, do you want a projection of her first year's hit on the economy down to the decimal with a 0.3% margin of error? Because that's a thing I can do if it'll make you stop talking about this stupid election for 10 minutes. Damn, hit me up, calculator girl. I don't think you're wrong about Jane's plans. She proceeds to dazzle the 2 boys with explications on complex math utilizing taxation rates, GDP figures, and some damned thing called the Laffer curve, which she easily could have just invented to own them both. But the truth is, she cares too deeply for these boys to fabricate silly-sounding economic models on the spot in order to make them seem foolish in front of the camera later. The thing about Jade Harley is that she's not as good at personal things as she is at other things, like science or mastering frame motifs or kissing, the last of which she has definitely put a lot of levels into over the past few years because, well, what else are you supposed to do with immortal godhood once you hit the age where the dog hormones start kicking into overdrive? She rolls over and hitches up her palms so that she can stare her 2 friends down. Hitches up on her palms so that she can stare her 2 friends down. Her high prescription lenses make her eyes look anime huge. They might literally be glittering. She's so completely serious about the issue she's trying to stress. Oh yeah, I've heard that some people were mad and thought it was out of character for her to, like, be having a lot of sex. But, like, I mean, the 7 years between 16 and 23, the sexuality developing is a part of that, and for her, that's the direction it went. Jade Harley is horny rights. Also, like, see, yeah. Also, more for the dog. Yeah, the way that they kind of handle their descriptions of her, like, physiology in relation to her morphing with a dog are one of the things that irk me a little bit. I don't know. It feels like they were a little ham-fisted with it, but I can't quite put my finger on the exact words for what I'm trying to describe. Do y'all know what I'm getting at, though? Or can you, like, see what I mean when I talk about that? It comes up a little more in Candy, too, and there's that whole conversation about having kids. So now that that's all out of the way, it's time to get real, you two. That wasn't an invitation for you to make a pun about having all the time in the world or whatever it was you were going to say. You have no idea what I'm saying? Yeah, I will try to figure out the words for it by the time we get to that part in Candy, which is probably going to be like a month from now. So hopefully by then I will know how to talk words. Oh, I'm about to lay out some cold, hard evidence, so pay attention. Oh, hang on, let me get a pen. Evidence about our relationship. Fuck. You let me live in your hive when I'm out of town. I can't believe I'm pretty intimately entwined in both of your lives. That you're just talking about this? And you don't disengage from about 86.234% of my flirtations. Wait, why the fuck would you keep track of something like that? So, are we doing this or not? Doing what? Dating, dummy. Oh, that is a complicated topic in my culture that I'm not sure humans are equipped to talk about. Also totally unrelated to the economy, which, not gonna lie, is the only thing I want to talk about for for however long it takes for this other conversation to stop happening. So say no. Well, I'm not just forcing this conversation for my sake. It's for you two as well. I mean, after all this time, have you two even kissed yet? Why would we kiss? That's you. I mean, he's Dave. And I'm Carcat. So first of all, absolute disaster scene happening here. Second of all, this seems to be like, this is like a big gut punch to the general fandom-wide assumption that both Dave and Carcat had moved way past this stage by the time they got to the end of their meteor journey. Because that's what that's what those conversations seem to be like, very heavily implying when Dave says, specifically asks Dirk about how did you tell your friends, like how he was dating Jake. Like, there were heavy ass implications there. So, I mean, I'm a little confused actually as to why they backpedaled on that. I mean, maybe it was just gross misinterpretation on the fandom's part and was never intended to be read the way that it was. But the way that those conversations were written really, so this threw me for a loop, like, for that specific reason, this part in particular. Because I'm pretty sure that every impression of Endgame Dave Cat that I saw before the epilogues came out was assuming that they had long moved beyond this over the course of their meteor journey, let alone having, like, they haven't moved past that kind of thing 7 years into Earthsea. Like, that's a long time. Yes, slow burn, but on level 900,000. Yeah. And we don't really get to see, well, no, we do actually get to see a fair bit of Dave and Carcat in the meat route. But yeah, so that's kind of why that punched me in the face. I was like, weren't we past this at this point? But apparently not. Yes, he's Dave and you're Carcat, and everyone we know always calls you that. Dave and Carcat. I can't remember the last time I heard anyone mention one of you without the other. The two of you have basically been together since your days on the meteor. It's so obvious. Together, yes, as friends. Yeah. Very close friends who understand and support each other on a deep and empathetic level that goes beyond hate or pity. You could even say that our relationship transcends quadrants. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Carcat, but that sounds totally kinda gay. You humans and your unfathomable gender-based quadrants. As if the social rigidity of the troll quadrants isn't just as ridiculous as fucking heteronormative bullshit. I don't know if that comment made sense. Words came out of my mouth, and then I was like, maybe that doesn't make sense in this context. Maybe I'm mixing things up. But you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna say fuck it. Y'all know what I mean. Jade face palms. She does it a little too hard and slams the bridge of her glasses into her forehead. Ow! Anyway, weren't you dating that Carpathian couple last time we checked? Jade drags her hand down the bottom half of her face and sighs. Yeah, for fun. I'm 23. Don't you think that's a little old to still be dating for fun? Wait, you saying we aren't fun? When's the last time either of you left the house? Also, Ari, this statement here, it is not. 23 is so fucking young. Y'all, let me tell you, as a person of roughly the same age, that's really fucking young. That's super young. Oh boy. And that's all I have to say about that. It's just, oh boy. And then, yeah. Don't be thinking like that, Jade. Please don't internalize that. It is not old to be dating for fun. You can date for fun as long as you fucking want. There are no rules. Fuck the rules. You literally invented society. You don't have to bring that shit over. It's not that old in dog years. Oh well. Her cognition is not very doggy. She is still very humanly cognizant and following human rules. Jade sighs and crawls closer. She takes one of Karkat's hands in hers. I think we'd all work good together. In her other hand, she tries to grab Dave's wrist, but he flash steps to the other side of the couch. She pouts at him and keeps holding Karkat's increasingly sweaty palm. And I think we've been dancing around that for years now. I want to try dating for real. Have you ever considered, sorry if what I'm about to say totally blows your mind, dating a single person for more than half a sweep for reasons other than initiating the concupiscent exchange of fluids? Karkat, get your anti-polyamory bullshit out of here. And also your slut-shaming, which Jade goes on to address. Jade's grip on Karkat's hand gets a little too tight, but her big-toothed smile remains flawlessly pleasant. This is a common sort of exchange between them and could easily be considered flirtation on several different metrics, especially considering the history between them and the sheer level of black flirtation that Karkat accidentally indulged in during his insecure youth. He doesn't even pull his hand away. Okay, first of all, don't slut-shame me, fuck-ass. Jade Harley is the true owner of the word fuck-ass, not Karkat Fantas. Thank you. Second of all, that's what I'm trying to do here. Third of all, Karkat, aren't you from a culture where people are expected to engage in romantic relationships with up to like 5 people at a time? That's not the same thing at all. Oh yeah? Explain the fundamental epistemological difference. What the fuck? You go, Jade. Okay, I'm gonna just a drink of water before we keep going. Okay, Jade, I think there's a flaw to your approach here, because you seem to think winning an argument on super clever logical grounds is going to get a couple of dudes to break down and fling themselves at you in, like, a sexual way. Well, it usually does. Oh my fucking god. This earns Dave a look. A long, sad one. Oh, that was a voice crack if I ever heard one. A long, sad one that has Jade messing with her glasses again so that she can peer right at him and apply some more of that faulty personal math to his facial expression. Dave. What? Is this about Obama? What? No, Dave, are you in love with Obama? Jade, Jesus, where do you get this shit from? Is it about Jesus then? No, Jesus wasn't even real. I know he wasn't real. Wait, are you saying Obama was real? I mean, the realness factor of Jesus is, I'm pretty sure, highly debated historically, but I just fucking love this whole exchange. God damn it. Yes, Obama was real. He was the president. All this time, I thought Obama was like an aspirational fictional character that you modeled your life after. I can't breathe. Like Snoop Dogg or Nicolas Cage. This is fucking incredible. They were both real too. I know that you grew up on an isolated island in the middle of nowhere and everything, but didn't you have, like, access to the internet? Wow, well, I'm sorry I wasted my whole childhood filling my head with pointless things like astrophysics and centenary numeral systems that allow me to do complex equations in my head. No, dude, that's kind of fucked up. Karkat, stop laughing. Jade's fucked up childhood isn't funny. Yeah, like, I'm fairly certain that Jesus historically was real, which actually makes it more hilarious that they're just like, Jesus wasn't real, and it's like, what? I know, I love Jade so much, too. Yes, it fucking is. Also, screw you for saying it's not funny. Why is it like some sort of tragedy how she was raised? Because she was raised alone by an animal? I was raised alone by an animal. Fuck off and let me enjoy this. Karkat has finally pulled his hand away so that he can clutch his stomach. He's laughing so hard. Jade gets up and stalks over to where Dave is awkwardly cowering at the other end of the couch and snatches his tablet from him. There's a ripple in the room that makes it clear their god-tier powers have just clashed against each other. He shifts his arm through time, and Jade warps space around them so that she's the one holding the tablet. This is not the first time that they have rearranged the fabric of reality for a petty reason like this. Karkat has permanently sworn off playing board games with them. Now that's a fanfic I want to see. The moment Jade brings the paint program up on the television, Karkat stops laughing. No! Oh my god, I fucking love this shit. He tries to grab the tablet from her, but she's hovering well above the ground and he is simply not tall enough to reach. With a shit-eating grin and deliberate care, Jade begins to draw a grid. I'll put this in terms Karkat will appreciate. Check it out. Jade, I swear to... Karkat jumps and tries to grab her skirt, but she swims through the air with ease, giggling as she doodles. You better not be drawing what I think you're drawing. Her artistic skill, even at the advanced age of 23, still leaves something to be desired, but it's pretty easy to produce recognizable caricatures of the three people in the room right now. She gives Karkat a pair of fuzzy, angry eyebrows and starts drawing other lines. Sinister lines with salacious meaning. It's exactly what Karkat fears. A shipping grid. Stop! Cease! Desist this moment! Do not draw one more line! Oh no, I'm drawing a line. Karkat better stop me before it goes all the way from my mouth to yours. Karkat catches the back of her shirt and she goes plummeting weightlessly to the floor, still laughing. Karkat tries to wrestle the pen out of her hand, but all he accomplishes is turning the red rom trajectory between her and Dave into a red rom loop-de-loop. See, me and Karkat have great black chemistry. It is not black chemistry, you horrid non-shitness windbag. Jade and Karkat roll over each other on the floor, and he gets a mouthful of her hair for his trouble. Jade comes out on top and sits on his back, humming to herself as she crafts her grand design. And now that Dave's all chill, he'd make a great auspicious. She says, cheerful and oblivious. No, because you and Karkat are kind of like morels. No. And you and I... Well, you know, it's always been pretty flirty. Jade. Except... No, I don't necessarily agree with her analysis of their relationships with each other in this situation. Because sometimes Quadrant's good and sometimes Quadrant's bad. And I think this is an over-application of the Quadrants. Jade finishes drawing a shaky heart directly into the paint program. It's so big and bright on the TV that it fills the entire room with red light. Karkat raises his face and stares at it in utterly bereft horror. The sick light makes the bags under his eyes look like divots. In this model, troll quadrants are dumb, so we all kiss. I call this political arrangement fully automated luxury polyamorous space-time communism. Slow clap for that one. Oh my god. I mean, I also think that what Jade is doing in this situation is crossing a line a little bit, just because she's very clearly making both of them uncomfortable. But also it's kind of hilarious. Because this is exactly what Karkat fucking did to them in the session. Which also emphasizes the fact that maybe this isn't the best approach for Jade to be taking. Because it was a bad approach when Karkat did it too. Both when he cornered Dave and John in the Fruity Rumpa's asshole factory. And when he tried to do the time grid with Terezi and Dave. AKA the penis we just seen, which is one of the best scenes in the whole fucking comic. But like, yeah. Yeah, people who ship Jade Dave Cat also got thrown under the bus here. So I just like to also send some condolences in that direction. Just while I'm at it. No one reacts. Karkat is defeated completely. Dave has just crossed his arms and pressed his mouth into a thinner line than usual. Jade's ears flatten and she huffs. It sounds a little like a dog whining. Oh, come on, that was a good one. It's politically relevant and everything. Jade, I'm not gonna laugh at your made-up ship name for this imaginary threesome that's not happening. Jade rolls her eyes and tosses both the tablet and pen over her shoulder. Dave flashes across the living room to catch his very expensive computing device in both arms. The pen bounces off his forehead. Jade dismounts from Karkat's poor, abused, terribly mortal spine and brushes down her skirt. Well, I've said what I wanted to say. It's up to you two what to do with it. I have to go talk to Roxy and Callie about the election anyway. Call me when you two figure it all out. Jade clicks her heels together to propel herself back into the air and actually winks at them before absconding through an open window. She has to push the thick curtains aside to do so. Karkat hisses when the light spills over his face. What Jade leaves in her wake is not quite the emotional scorched earth situation that she was going for, but a few of her needles have definitely gotten under some skin. Dave and Karkat both stare after her, silently caught in their own private realization spirals. Karkat needs to verbalize part of his out loud. Wow, what a crazy and totally improbable conversation we just had with our best friend Jade. Yeah. What a good thing for us that she's totally delusional and has no idea what she's talking about, huh? For sure. Dave offers Karkat a hand up from the floor. When their palms connect, there's a moment where something could happen. A little spark of potential. It would be so very easy for something to happen. Want to play some Troll Tony Hawk? Hell yeah. So we do not get the catharsis on that moment until the very end. Alright, so we do have time for one more chapter today. 13. Be John again. It seems as if you're attempting to be John again, with the expectation that we might spend a little more quality time with him in his cubicle of misery and self-loathing. You guessed we might really start to unpack his depression issues. Get to the bottom of that. Well, nice try. John can't be here right now because he's stuck somewhere in the harrowing nexus between canon, post-canon, non-canon, outside canon, and fanon. He also can't be here right now because, for the time being, we're done wasting our breath on such a sad loser. It's well overdue for the true hero of this tale to take center stage. Oh, gag me. Anyway, here's Vriska. Okay. Be Vriska. Lord English stands before you in all his time-eating, universe-ending glory. You rode here like a total badass, and now you're presiding over a whole host of ghosts ready to throw themselves once more into the maw of this final battle. You know that this isn't your battle to win, but you are definitely the sign of the tide turning. Hell, you are the tide. This whole thing This whole thing would have been pretty dismal if you hadn't shown up with a treasure chest containing the ultimate weapon, not to mention your flawless defeat of an obstructionist, hectoring orange man, who, for reasons you cannot begin to comprehend, seemed to be obsessed with you. You have already executed what is probably the most important tactical maneuver ever performed by a hero in the history of heroism. You deployed the white house-shaped juju from the red chest. It grew to an enormous size, slammed down onto whatever was passing for the floor in this esoteric battle environment, and a door materialized on its surface. You now stand off to the side, looking especially pleased with yourself, waiting for the legendary weapon to unload itself toward the hulking tyrant. You've got two... Oh my god. Either gender... Get your binary out of here, Dirk. You've now got two bitches of either gender at your side. Your main girl, Mina, who you stole from that embarrassing past version of yourself that you owned so hard you bet she's probably still crying. And Tavros. Not just any random ghost copy of Tavros, of which there appear to be thousands. Your Tavros, specifically, who's been pathetically trailing after you like a lost bark beast since you showed up. Hey, how about you acknowledge the fact that he's the one who got all these ghosts marshaled together in the first place? And fucking acknowledge it and stop just being like, oh, he's just been lost following me. He knows what he's fucking doing. Get the fuck out of here. Fuck you. Anyway. You'd be hard-pressed to describe what's happening right now. If they sent a poet, maybe he'd do a better job of it. But they sent someone who's actually useful instead, so you'll give it a shot. It looks like you like the complete obliteration of... It looks to you like the complete obliteration of space and time, the end of all things, the disintegration of literally thousands of ghosts. And no doubt your admirers out there would love it if you described it all in painstaking detail, but you're not an executionist. You just call it like you see it, and what you're seeing right now is pretty awesome. Yeah, literally, Vriska and Dirk, shut the fuck up about Tavros. Yes. Please. Yeah. Just, I don't even like Tavros as much, but just like I'm just very defensive of Tavros being thrown under the bus, especially by Vriska. It just makes me mad. Observe Lord English. Kind of an overworked character design, you think to yourself. If someone showed you a drawing like this on their flarp sheet, you'd probably be obligated to immediately kick their ass. There's a lot going on, from his vein-popping muscles to his 8-ball eyes to his pirate leg and his ostentatiously bright gold pimp cane. Years ago, you brutally criticized Heresy for adding a dragon head staff to her Red Glare cosplay. The argument that ensued was so bad she didn't talk to you for an entire week. Now that you're seeing this, well, you wouldn't apologize to her, obviously, but in retrospect, maybe her accessorizing wasn't so bad. At least she understood the basics of having a simplified silhouette. I'm going back, Finn. You coming, Vriss? Of course, but give me a minute. I want to see. Mina gives you a grin and a salute and leaves you to it. This is what you always felt you were destined for, somehow. Standing at the end of the universe and seeing how it all goes down. Tavros is clinging to your arm like a little crybaby, while crying, you assume, and probably soiling his dumb little pair of shorts. Shut the fuck up with your overly infantilizing descriptions of Tavros. Fuck off. But not you. You're fearless. Your eyes are so wide that it feels like you're eating all the light through them. That's what you are, after all. The thief of light. You crane back your neck and watch Lord English put a crack in reality. It's beautiful. You thought maybe he'd do something stupid, like punch the sky with his gross, throbbing muscle arm, but all it takes for him to shatter the roof of existence is a single ear-splitting roar. Around him, the ghost army scatters. Tavros flinches and hides his face in your shoulder, and probably pisses himself again for good measure. Shove it up your ass. Shut the fuck up. But you get smashed in the head? It was so fast and dark you didn't see it. The shard of space-time that split off from above and hurtled towards you. Your body rocks back, whiplash fast, and you nearly keel over. You're still standing, though, and laughing. That's what you were doing when Lord English put a split in the fabric of reality. You were laughing, not crying. It doesn't hurt at all. Sure. Vriska, are you okay? Shut up! I'm... You stagger back and put a hand to the head wound. Your eyes spin. All 8 of them. It's not a big deal, though. Just a scratch. It's fine. Your hand comes away coated in thick blue. Your hair is soaked with it all the way down on one side. Why is broken space-time so sharp? Like splintered obsidian. It feels like it barely grazed you, and yet everything around you begins to spin, and you're not sure if you can't quite... A stream of blood begins to leak in under your glasses. Noises whirl around you. Lord English losing his shit, ghosts shouting, moving, the broken glass sound of the ceiling of space splitting into hundreds of shards of potentiality. There's a hum beneath all of it, a deep, dark reverb, a black hole sucking everything into the dark maw of infinity. You wipe your bloody hand on the leg of your jeans and sneer with rage. You won't go down so easily. Tavros tries to steady you, but you slap his hand away. Fuck off! Okay, it looks really kinda extremely bad, though. You're so intolerable. I need to... Tavros, go. Find Mina. Now, Tavros! Tavros scurries off into the fray to find someone less worthless. Shut the fuck up. You try to catch your bearings so that you won't miss a single instant of the battle, but you're distracted by something in the corner of your glasses. Your Trollian alert is blinking. There's a message from Terezi. How long has that been there? Hours? Days? You suddenly wonder if it's been years from her perspective, waiting for you to respond, given how time moves differently out here. Were you too preoccupied with your incredible heroic exploits to notice? That's the conversation that we read, of course, when Terezi is flying between the lily pad and the towers in the land of tombs in Krypton, where she fights with Dave and Dirk. The ones that are completely fucking heartbreaking. And that conclude in her connecting with herself, her ultimate self, getting all of those memories and seeing the game over timeline, and that's where we get S Remember, and it's very heartbreaking and wonderful. Focus, Circuit. This is no time for sentimental thoughts. You need to get a grip. Keep your head in the game. Keep both feet planted firmly. Whoops. Your feet slip. Without Tavros to keep you steady, you lose your balance and begin drifting. You try to regain your footing, but you realize you aren't in danger of falling over. That's not the problem. You can't seem to get your feet back on the floor. You feel light. You're floating. You flail your legs, scraping the tips of your shoes against the floor, but it's no use. You understand what's happening. It's the black hole. It's starting to lift you up. You glance wide-eyed toward the glowing juju. Its 4 chambers and peaked roof are pulsing with the energy of raw imminence. This is it! Everything you've been waiting for, whatever it is about to happen. Where's Mina? You desperately try to stabilize yourself, slow your ascent, anchor your body back to the floor in some way, anyway. But there's nothing to grab onto. There's blood in your eyes and your depth perception is fucked. Your hand goes wide and your fingers close around empty space as you reach impotently towards the glowing symbol of everything you ever believed you were meant for. This can't be how it goes. As you continue to levitate, gaining speed in the direction of the insatiable cosmic body, you can see your blood trailing behind you in wet cerulean blobs. The juju glows brighter. You need to see what happens next. You need to see! You're so frantic, grasping for purchase in the empty air, that you aren't ready for it. Another black shard of space-time hurtling through the void. It collides with your chest, right at the place where your ribcage connects, and sends you spiraling even faster towards the deep, dark maw of infinity. A black hole is something not even a god-tier player can survive, you suspect. And even if one could, you highly doubt there'd be any clawing your way out of its event horizon and back into relevance. Not this time. It's a fate worse than anything you can imagine, as it truly sinks in what is happening now, how this is ending for you. Finally, you lose all sense of composure. You flail, spin, and flip in helpless circles like a bloody rag doll, and you begin to scream. What do you darned know? This isn't the end. You're gonna get tossed into the candy universe and immediately engage in some very questionable things that I don't want to talk about until we're actually reading candy. John, emerge from the juju. The first thing you hear is a tiny scream getting sucked into oblivion. Bye, Vriska. The voice is familiar, but what is not as familiar is as the second thing you hear, which is a crack. It's not just a crack in your ears. This crack goes all the way down your spine. You almost don't react to it because it's so familiar. Around you, a cacophony rises up like steam. Oh shit, it's really popping off out here. Dave's voice reminds you that your teammates have emerged from the house along with you. You survey the group. Everyone is That's a typo. That should be accounted, not account. Everyone is accounted for. 3 confused, frightened teenagers. You can't see anything but big, bright smears all along the horizon. You fish the 2 halves of your broken glasses out of your pocket, hold them up to your face. The scene comes into focus. The eye of a storm, a black hole so massive it stretches as far as you can see. An army of ghosts, swirling and screaming, whipping around you like leaves in the wind, and at the center of it all is Lord English, just like in your dream. You can feel it now. You can feel it now. The moment reality yawns too wide and snaps in half. Okay, so now we are at marker number 3. I still don't know what the fuck these markers are for. I think time jumps, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, if anyone knows what the fuck those are for. I mostly ignored them the first time that I read, so I'm only just now really paying attention to them. Yeah, it is 12:59. We are finishing spot on, right on time. So that was chapters 10 through 13. Yeah, so we are about to... So, of course, can't stay in one place too long. We are jumping from the fight to the encounter between Jake and Jane. Ugh. We'll deal with this bullshit tomorrow. Same time, same place. I will be coming back to chapter 14 and continuing on from there. We'll go another 2 hours deeper into the meat epilogue. Indeed. And next week, of course, we're going back to regular, what's it called? Bonus stream schedule. So Monday, we will be back with Rose of Winter, part 3 of 4. We have 2 princes left. We have Faulkner, the fairy prince, and the other one whose name I can't remember, where it's like the little prince and his caretaker. Those are the ones that we have left. If you missed the last Rose of Winter stream, it is on YouTube, so you can check that shit out. And this is going to go up on YouTube as well. All of the epilogue streams are going up on YouTube. Yeah. That is about all for today. All right. Well then. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out. I hope that y'all had a lovely time. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, whatever you may be getting up to. Yeah, fingers crossed I will be seeing you all back here again tomorrow so we can continue along this journey together. And that's good night from my end, and Volume 10 will play us out.